Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, yep. The worst sanctions, we're going to talk about that with Michigan. They've got an insider that says that's not going to happen, and those are off the table. Also, we're going to talk about Tennessee's offseason. ESPN's ranked it as one of the worst in the country, and the dogpiling continues on when it comes to Tennessee. Also, Greg Sankey spoke about the 9-game SEC schedule and what would be required to make that happen. We're going to talk about that. Nick Saban, we'll very quickly go over Nick Saban. It appears is not going to be the college football czar. He has kind of tamped that down. And lastly, in this show, I'm going to show you some SEC head coaches' golf swings that some are hilarious. And I'll put that at the end if you want to watch that. It's going to be funny. And there's a couple of them got good swings. So let's start out with Tennessee. And they have been ranked by ESPN as one of the worst off seasons in the country. And ESPN writers have ranked Power 4 programs off season. They are not thrilled with Tennessee. And in the SEC, Tennessee got ranked number 14 out of 16 teams. The only teams that had worse off seasons would be Arkansas and Mississippi State. Now, I don't know how Arkansas could have, according to every reporter, every YouTuber, everybody out there, Tennessee's had the worst offseason, but let's see what Mississippi State and Arkansas, where they are. Let's see. Mississippi State didn't win a game last year. They were 0-8 in the SEC, and Arkansas was 3-5. I think Tennessee saved Sam Pittman's job with that loss at Arkansas. And, of course, Tennessee finished 6-2 in the conference, 10-3. They won all their games at home, 7-0. And it talks about what went wrong. It says the Vols entered 2025 prepared to build on the program's first ever college football playoff appearance behind Nico, the former top quarterback recruit who appeared poised to take another jump in his second season. Circumstances aside, his late spring departure for UCLA was a worst-case scenario for Tennessee 2025. Now, these are the same folks that when it was happening were like, yeah, stand up to Nico. Don't let him push you around. Yeah, now they're calling it the biggest mistake possible. That's the way it is, folks. Tennessee can't catch a break. So the Vols made a solid recovery in the quarterback swap with Joey Aguilar, but the saga marked a disastrous ending to an otherwise quiet offseason that saw Tennessee's biggest losses come in the NFL draft. And they talked about Dylan Sampson going to the pros. Look, we put running backs in the pros. We had 2 that went the year before that, Dylan this year, and we'll probably have another guy go this coming year. Tennessee, the way we spread the defenses out and spread our offense, it creates big holes for running backs. And if you'll notice, last year, the defenses went into the umbrella defenses, what I call it, where they take 5 defensive backs and put them out like an umbrella. And it opens all this space in the middle. So Dylan Sampson had a field day. Plus, he was a great runner. And that's not going to stop. That what they're trying to do is stop Tennessee from creating the big splash plays. And they've been able to do that. Part of that, too, is that our quarterbacks overthrow wide open guys, which has been Joe Milton and Nico. Now, Hendon Hooker almost never missed, and he was throwing touchdowns like crazy. We'll see if Joey Aguilar can hit some guys on those deep passes. Nico was good on the 10 to 20-yard passes, under 10 yards as well. But over 20, he was no bueno, terrible. So our running backs will have success this year. I'm not concerned about that. The big thing is, can we go fast? That was another thing with Joe and Nico. And Nico was just a redshirt freshman, so I'll cut him some slack. But they did not go fast the way Hendon did and the way you're supposed to in a Josh Heupel offense. You're supposed to go, go, go. And it does help catch the defense off guard if you'll just hurry up and go. But every time we'd get going, our quarterbacks, which was Joe and Nico, they'd look over to the side, look over to the side. Hendon never did that. Hendon got up there, hiked the ball. Next thing you know, we got a touchdown. So they're questioning whether or not we'll be able to at running back. Of course, Peyton Lewis is one of the fastest running backs in the country. Brought in Star Thomas, who's a new addition from Duke, and he's a real good running back. So I think we'll be fine there. But anyway, it is what it is. We're going to get trashed the whole offseason. We don't have the big-time quarterback, and it turns out the media, who was all in our corner over this whole Nico thing, is now trashing us over it. So that probably doesn't surprise a lot of Tennessee Vols fans. All right, let's move on to this next thing, and that is that a Michigan insider is saying that Michigan will not be facing any of the stiffest penalties. And this has been a heck of a story to cover. I have taken a ton of grief from Michigan fans, and you folks have been terrific. I've gotten a bunch of support from y'all in the comment section and hitting the thumbs up button and all that, and I appreciate that because, believe me, the Wolverines are doing the opposite. They do not want anybody covering this story, and if you do, you take grief. Now, this was in GBM Wolverine by Chris Peterson. It said, insider says most severe punishments are not on the table for Michigan football. And here it talks about Joel Klatt, who came out the other day, and he was talking about Santaono, who left Michigan after only 3 years and had just signed an 8-year extension, how he took off to Florida. Now, a lot of people have speculated, this guy being one of them, that he took off because he knows the hammer's getting ready to come down on Michigan. Now, Michigan, of course, completely disagrees with that, and they weren't happy that Joel Klatt kind of determined the same thing. But they feel like it has nothing to do with that. It's more, look, the university's huge. Football's just a part of it. It's not that big a deal. It says Michigan has one of the largest endowments in the country. There are plenty of reasons besides football why Ono is leaving. The football program is a fraction of the budget, so get real. You sound like an idiot. Tell it like it is, man. That was Isaiah Hull of the Wolverines Wire. Here it talks about Klatt suggested something big was coming. It could be financial. I definitely think they're going to get a huge financial penalty. Talks about the 2-game Sherrone Moore, calling it self-serving. That was Klatt. And their position is missing 2 games for deleting texts that were still turned over seems insane. They're not done with that punishment. I've told you it's probably going to be a 4-game suspension, and he might get a 1-year show cause, which is going to cause a whole new issue with Michigan and whether or not a coach can actually coach with a show cause. If you get a 4-game suspension, obviously those 4 games you can't coach. But can you coach with a show cause at the same university? I don't know. I don't think it's ever been tested. So they obviously don't think there'll be a show cause. But realize he's a repeat offender. See, they hit him over that recruiting thing a while back. So he's already under probation, I guess is what you'd call it.
Oh. Then as of this moment, they're on double secret probation.
Yeah, double secret probation. And then it talks about Michigan vacating wins. They obviously don't think that'll happen. That's the one big question I've got. Will they vacate the wins of all the games where Connor Stalions was on the sidelines and he was translating the signals from the other team and then basically adjusting Michigan's offense and defense as they went along? And you saw him on the sidelines constantly doing that? I don't know. You want to talk about bringing the smoke? If Charlie Baker does that, if they vacate those wins and take away the natty, I don't know if he wants that level of smoke because I think the Michigan folks would lose their freaking minds. I really do. I don't know that he wants that. Plus, he said it was fair and square. Now, some people say that's out of context. I don't know that it was. It sounded like he was saying it was legit. That's really the big question. Will they take away the natty? Will they vacate those wins? Like I said, I don't know if he can handle the smoke because it'll be awful. In the past, they would have done that in a heartbeat. That wouldn't even been a question. But nowadays, it's hard to say. That's the one big question I have. Will they take away the natty? I'm at about 75% they'll keep it, 25% they'll take it. I was at 50-50, but when you look at that Charlie Baker comment, he kind of painted himself in a corner, so I'm not confident anymore about that. I think they'll probably keep it, but I could be wrong. Then their argument is Michigan also played all of their most difficult games that year when they finally figured out Stalions was stealing the signs. When the scandal broke, he said it didn't have the benefit of the operation down the stretch and still won every game, most of them convincingly. This is according to the writer here. It said, so just because Michigan owning Ohio State,
oh, hell no,
or winning a national title has harmed you personally, that's not justification for the NCAA to unjustly punish the rightful national champions. All right, Ohio State fans, that was a nice little smack at you. Oh, God. Owning Ohio State. Michigan couldn't beat Ohio State for 15 out of 16 years, and then Connor showed up, and they've won multiple in a row and kind of just completely reversed it. So That's interesting. You can see why the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry has really turned into a volcano, and there's a lot of ugliness on both sides of that issue. It's also why everybody's looking forward to that game coming up this year. I believe it's going to be at noon at Michigan. It's going to be the showdown.
Well, I didn't think you had it in you.
I'm your huckleberry.
Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
I've always felt like Auburn, Alabama had the fiercest rivalry, and it's always been that way forever because they're in state, and it's just awful. But this one's bubbled up over the last 5 years and turned into one of the ugliest I've ever seen. When it comes to people watching that game, the viewership is going to be through the roof. I mean, you can't get it more pumped than that. So according to Michigan, there won't be any serious penalties, just probably a 2-game suspension and a little slap on the wrist. I don't know, what, a $12.50 fine, something like that. And don't you ever do that again. They'll probably get a finger wagging from Charlie Baker. Now, what I think's really going to happen, 4-game suspension for the coach, 1-year show cause, $15 million fine at least. That's the minimum, I think. I think that's where they're going to hit them the hardest, and the others, the 2 bowl games. I think they're going to have a 2-year ban bowl or postseason ban, and that's going to hurt like hell. I mean, that's going to be rough. It's going to be difficult to hold on to your number 1 quarterback if he finds out he can't be playing for anything. That's where they're going to get hurt, the 2-year postseason ban. I could be wrong. Maybe that won't happen, but I'm pretty confident about that. Because if they don't take away the natty and they don't do a postseason ban, then NCAA might as well fold up their tents and go home. They're done. If they do that, they're done. Because there's no point for them to exist anymore. There really isn't. And the biggest problem with Michigan, why they're going to get hit hard like that for the 2-year postseason ban, they haven't cooperated. They have fought the NCAA the entire time. They've accused the NCAA of overreaching and all that kind of stuff, and they haven't been cooperative. So that's why the NCAA, I think, is going to hit them pretty hard. If it was the 1980s, it would be devastating. It would be awful what they do. But this is 2025. Postseason ban is about all they can really do. That would hurt a program. So anyway, did want to let you know that as far as Michigan's concerned, nothing to see here. Nothing.
Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
We'll see. We're going to find out June 6th and 7th, and then within 45 days of that. Do want to talk about Greg Sankey. He's talking about the college football playoff and a 9-game schedule for the SEC. And he was on the Paul Feinbaum show. He talked about the 12-team launch. It was very successful in his opinion. The one thing that he didn't like, he said a team that's playing 2/3 of their games against teams with winning records, comparing that team to a team that's played a very small number of their games against winning records in a different setting. Pretty much he's talking about the teams like Boise State or Indiana that got in that didn't have to play a bunch of tough teams, whereas all the SEC teams and several of the Big Ten teams had to play very tough schedules. So he doesn't like that part of it, and you would expect that from an SEC guy. Then he got into how the spots were allocated. He said Clemson was not in the top 12, yet they were allocated a spot by winning their championship. Boise State was not in the top 4, yet they were allocated a bye. Arizona State, the same thing. They moved right on in. And the problem with that is you took a team like Tennessee that should have been playing at home. They had to go on the road. Texas should have been in the top 4. They got moved to number 5. And that made it very frustrating for those teams because they earned those positions, and then 2 teams that didn't earn those positions kicked them out and said, oh, those are our spots now because communism or whatever. Then Sankey talked about the 9-game. He said, as we think about our schedule, we're governed by playoff decisions. And what he means by that is he's not going to go to a 9-game schedule, or not him. He would do it no matter what. The coaches are not going to go along with a 9-game schedule unless they're guaranteed a certain number of spots in the playoffs, which the SEC and Big Ten, who are in total control after this year, are going to want 4 guaranteed spots. They're almost certainly going to go to a 16-game, a 16-team schedule. I think that's almost 100% certain. I think ACC and Big 12 will get 2 each. Then you've got to deal with Notre Dame, group of 6, and some at-large bids. If they guarantee that, I think the SEC will move to a 9-game schedule, and then that creates a whole crescendo of changes. First of all, ESPN will pay the SEC an extra $80 to $100 million, which will help eliminate the difference between Big Ten and SEC TV rights money. And then the SEC almost certainly is going to play the Big Ten in a big series, which I think will be fantastic. And they'll probably rank them 1 versus 1, 2 versus 2, which will make the games very competitive and fantastic for viewing and bring in even more TV rights money because everybody needs that right now. So in that article, he basically just confirmed everything we've talked about, is that these things have to happen first, and as soon as they do, we'll move to a 9-game schedule. But if they don't, which is they're going to, but if they don't, then we won't. It's just that simple because the coaches in the SEC, they know what they're dealing with, and they also saw what happened with the college football playoff committee that didn't take strength of schedule into consideration at all, period. That meant nothing to them. So they've learned their lesson from this last year, and now they know we're not going to 9 games and beat each other up unless we're guaranteed 4 spots. All right, now quickly, I want to talk about Nick Saban. I don't think Nick wants to be the czar anymore. I think the politics of it has become difficult, and I've told you, politics is a very, very tricky subject, and I would say Nick Saban's probably happy with his life, and he doesn't want everybody jumping on him. So here's what he had to say about that.
Well, first of all, I don't know a lot about the commission, first of all. Secondly, I'm not sure we really need a commission. I think that, a lot of people know exactly what the issues are in college football and exactly what we need to do to fix them.
On a personal note, for him, that's pretty smart. He should probably stay the heck clear of that. Everybody thinks he can just waltz in there and fix it. It's not like that. It's not about politics. It's about dealing with the Sherman Act. And that's something that was passed over 100 years ago, and you're not going to just easily manipulate it. You're either going to have to get an antitrust exemption from the Congress, or you're going to have to make them employees, the players, which they don't want to be, and do collective bargaining. If you don't do one of those 2 things, you're not going to just fix it. And all he's going to do is beat his head against the wall, and everybody's going to give him grief because he's been involved in politics, which is a huge risk for anybody. Now, lastly, I'm going to show you some golf swings, which are, some of these are classics. All right, this first swing is obviously Nick Saban, and then you'll see several other coaches, and then we'll break them down individually. All right, let's start with Nick right here. Takes it back, as you can see. Not terrible. That's actually decent. He doesn't turn his shoulders good enough. He's too stiff. Then he brings it down, brings from the inside, and then he slams his hands at him. Look how far his hands go to the left because he has to do that to get it back online. Not terrible. That's a decent swing. Now, here is a classic swing. This is Hugh Freeze. Watch this right here. This is one of the worst takebacks I've ever seen. Okay, first of all, right here, he is dead inside. This club is wide open. That is a terrible position to be in. And watch what happens afterwards. Takes it inside, and then zoop, there he goes, way across the line. That is horrible. Oh, God, Hugh, what are you doing? You are creaked from there. Now, here he should drop it inside, and he could probably recover, but instead he does the exact opposite. He comes way over the top. That is just the worst position you could possibly be in. His right hand is almost off the club. Then he right across the top. His club is wide open right here. He's got to throw his hands immediately at impact. Right there he does. And he's going to hit a big old slice. All right, now here's a decent move at it right here. This is Kirby Smart. Takes it back just a little inside, but pretty good. He's got his club face in a good position. There he is, a good position at top. He needs to drop it inside right there just a little bit, but he doesn't. He comes over the top just a tiny bit. Pretty good extension through the ball, pretty good. Not bad. Not a great finish, but that's probably the best swing so far, if I had to guess. Kirby. All right, now this is a Nate Oates, basketball coach from Alabama. Let's see. Oh, no, that's just not good. Oh, look at the arms. No extension at all. Oh, no, this is just awful. No take back. Look, there's the top of his swing. He's not even close to a finished back swing. then whips it inside and across, and oh, look at, and the finish. I love this finish right there. No balance at all. Classic. All right, now here's a nice take back by Kalen DeBoer. You can tell he's worked at it. He goes, very nice. I like that. Good extension. Oh, yeah. Good at the top. He's almost finished his backswing perfectly. There you go. Drops it inside and comes through. And then he gets in his own way here at the end a little bit. He just doesn't have the flexibility. But he's worked at his game then. Oh, don't hit the trees. Don't hit the trees. Oh, yeah, I know that move. And lastly, let's take a look at Greg Sankey. See how he does. Oh, that's not terrible. Let's see what his swing actually looks like. Takes it back, too far inside, goes straight up with it. Yeah, his body position's and not so good. Over the top, throws the hands, and he kind of popped that one up. Not terrible. I've seen worse. I don't give him too much grief. But anyway, that's Sankey. And I know what y'all are going to say. Oh, you're giving that guy grief. You're no good at golf. I played at UT. I was the captain of the UT golf team.
How's bragging camp going?
So I do know something about golf for you folks that don't know that. I figured I'd better tell you that before y'all get mad at me in the comment section. All right, so two pretty good swings. Kalen DeBoer had a nice swing. I think Kirby Smart wasn't bad. And Nick Saban, Hugh Freeze, you need to totally rework your swing. It's just awful.
Like rat poison.
And I was glad to see him out there playing. I know he's dealing with a health issue, but that was good to see him out there playing golf. And the last one was what? Nate Oates? Not good. Nate, you need a lesson bad. Anyway, just thought I'd give you some of that golf at the end. If you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's me know. Continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit this little button right here. Won't cost you a dime. Help you get my videos. And right over here's the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
He's a Cinderella boy, tears in his eyes, I guess, as he lines up this last shot. He's got about 195 yards left, and looks like he's got about an 8.